In September 2014, Hannah Witheridge, 23, and David Miller, 24, both young British tourists, traveled separately to Koh Tao, Thailand, a small island known for its clear waters, diving spots, and party atmosphere popular among backpackers. Hannah Witheridge was a university graduate from Norfolk, described as bright, caring, and adventurous, enjoying travel before continuing her studies. David Miller was from Jersey and had recently completed an engineering degree, taking a gap trip across Asia with friends before starting his career. On the evening of September 14, 2014, Hannah and David were seen at a local beachside bar, socializing with other travelers and enjoying their stay. In the early hours of September 15th, the two were believed to have walked along Sairee Beach back toward their accommodations. The next morning, a horrifying discovery was made by a local worker. David's body was found floating in shallow water near rocks, showing signs of blunt force trauma to the head and drowning. Hannah's body was discovered further up on the beach, partially clothed, with severe head injuries and clear evidence of sexual assault. The scene was described as chaotic and disturbing, with a bloody garden hose found nearby, believed to be the murder weapon. Footprints, blood traces, and signs of a violent struggle were visible on the sand. Within hours, the news of the brutal murders spread globally, shocking both Thailand's tourism industry and the victims' families. The idyllic image of Koh Tao was immediately overshadowed by the violence, as the beach transformed from a paradise for young travelers into a crime scene marked by police tape, media crews, and frantic investigators. The early investigation was criticized for poor handling. Locals and tourists were allowed near the crime scene before it was secured, contaminating potential evidence. It was reported that authorities hosed down parts of the beach, potentially destroying critical forensic material. This tragic discovery would ignite a complex, controversial investigation and later a high-profile trial, sparking debates about justice, migrant workers' rights, police procedures, and safety on Koh Tao. From the very beginning, the investigation into the murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller was marked by chaos, mismanagement, and growing suspicion, both among locals and internationally. When the bodies were discovered on Sairee Beach on the morning of September 15, 2014, Thai police were quick to arrive on the scene, but the area was not properly secured. Tourists, locals, and media were allowed to walk near the site, unintentionally trampling over potential evidence such as footprints, blood traces, and discarded items that could have been crucial in identifying the killer. Eyewitnesses reported that before thorough documentation, some officers washed parts of the beach with water hoses, supposedly to clean the area, but this may have destroyed key forensic evidence, including blood patterns, DNA, and trace materials. At the same time, Thai authorities were under immense pressure due to the high-profile nature of the case, with international media and the UK government demanding swift answers. This urgency appeared to lead to rushed procedures. Conflicting reports arose about how DNA samples were collected and handled. Some forensic samples were said to be sent to Bangkok for testing, but delays and inconsistencies in reporting results fueled speculation about the investigation's integrity. There were questions about whether proper protocols were followed in collecting DNA from potential suspects and witnesses, raising the risk of cross-contamination. To further complicate matters, the Thai police publicly announced various theories within days, ranging from the possibility of a love triangle to drug involvement, but these claims were later walked back, creating confusion and skepticism about their competence. The handling of the crime scene and evidence drew widespread criticism from human rights groups, forensic experts, and the families of the victims, who feared that mishandling would prevent justice for Hannah and David. The UK government sent British police officers to observe the investigation, reflecting their concerns over the process. The chaotic early response to the murders on Koh Tao planted seeds of distrust that would continue throughout the investigation and trial, leading many to question whether the Thai authorities were more interested in protecting the island's tourism reputation than in ensuring a fair and accurate investigation. Weeks after the murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, the investigation took a sharp turn with the arrest of two Burmese migrant workers, Zaw Lin and Wai Phio, also known as Win Zaw Tun, both 21 years old at the time. Zaw Lin and Wai Phio were among the many Burmese migrants working on Koh Tao in low-paying jobs within the island's tourism and construction sectors, often living in cramped conditions with minimal legal protections. As the police faced intense pressure to find suspects quickly, attention shifted toward these vulnerable workers, who were easily accessible for questioning. In October 2014, Thai police announced that Zaw Lin and Wai Phio had confessed to the murders and the assault on Hannah Witheridge. According to the police, DNA samples taken from the men matched those found on Hannah's body and the crime scene, which was presented as a breakthrough in the investigation. However, immediate doubts emerged about the validity of these confessions and the investigation's fairness. The suspects later retracted their confessions, claiming they were obtained under torture, beatings, and threats from Thai police officers. Human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, raised alarms, stating that the case bore signs of forced confessions used to resolve a high-profile case quickly. The defense argued that the two young men, who spoke limited Thai and had no legal counsel during initial interrogations, were intimidated and coerced into signing confessions they could not even read. Additionally, the DNA evidence presented by the police was heavily scrutinized. The defense was denied the right to independent DNA testing, raising concerns about potential contamination or misreporting of results. International forensic experts questioned the methods used by the Thai police, noting inconsistencies and procedural flaws. The arrests led to protests in Myanmar, Burma, and among migrant communities in Thailand, with many believing that Zaw Lin and Wai Phio were being used as scapegoats to protect the island's image and satisfy the public demand for quick justice. The families of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, while seeking justice, also expressed concern about the handling of the case, emphasizing the need for a fair and transparent trial that would genuinely uncover the truth behind the murders rather than merely convicting someone to close the case. The arrest of Zaw Lin and Wai Phio would become the focal point of global human rights debates, transforming the Koh Tao murders from a tragic crime into a controversial case, symbolizing flaws within the justice system, treatment of migrant workers, and the protection of powerful tourism interests in Thailand. A central element in the Koh Tao murder investigation was the DNA evidence that Thai police claimed linked Zaw Lin and Wai Phio to the crime. Authorities announced that DNA samples collected from Hannah Witheridge's body and a cigarette butt found near the scene matched those of the two Burmese workers, presenting it as the key evidence justifying their arrest and confessions. However, from the outset, the handling of DNA evidence in this case raised serious concerns. The crime scene had been compromised early, with many people walking over the area and parts of the beach being washed down, increasing the likelihood of contamination. The chain of custody for the DNA samples was unclear, with reports of inconsistent labeling and storage methods that could affect the accuracy of the results. The defense and independent observers highlighted major issues. Small Blue Diamond lack of transparency. Thai police refused to allow independent forensic experts to re-examine the DNA samples. Requests for retesting by international specialists were denied, preventing confirmation of the results' validity. Small Blue Diamond procedural concerns. Forensic experts questioned whether the Thai police lab had followed international standards, including the use of control samples and contamination prevention protocols. Small Blue Diamond inconsistencies in reporting. Initial statements from Thai police about where and how DNA was found varied in the media, adding confusion about the evidence's reliability. These issues sparked global criticism, with rights groups, legal observers, and the UK media accusing Thai authorities of using DNA evidence as a tool to secure a conviction quickly, regardless of whether it truly identified the perpetrators. Many viewed the two Burmese men as convenient scapegoats, particularly given the political and economic pressure on Thailand to resolve the case swiftly to protect its tourism industry. During the trial, defense lawyers argued that the DNA evidence was the only significant link between the suspects and the crime since there was no credible eyewitness testimony placing them at the scene at the time of the murders. The suspects' retracted confessions, allegedly obtained under torture, further emphasized the need for independent forensic verification. Despite these concerns, the Thai court ruled in favor of the prosecution, accepting the DNA evidence as credible. This decision led to international protests and calls for a thorough review, with the Myanmar government and global human rights organizations demanding transparency and fair treatment for Zaw Lin and Wai Phyo. The controversy over the DNA evidence became a symbol of broader concerns about the integrity of the justice system in high-profile cases in Thailand, the vulnerability of migrant workers, and the lengths authorities might go to protect the image of a tourist destination over uncovering the full truth. The trial of Zaw Lin and Wai Phyo for the murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller began in July 2015 on Koh Samui, under intense media coverage and international attention. The case had become a symbol of broader issues in Thailand's justice system, including concerns about coerced confessions, migrant rights, and the handling of forensic evidence. Throughout the trial, Small Blue Diamond, the prosecution's case, relied heavily on the contested DNA evidence and the initial confessions made by the two men, despite their claims that these confessions were extracted under torture, threats, and intimidation while they were in custody without legal counsel. Small Blue Diamond defense lawyers, supported by human rights groups, argued there were serious flaws in the investigation and evidence handling, pointing to possible contamination of DNA samples, inconsistencies in police statements, and a lack of credible eyewitness testimony linking the men directly to the crime scene at the time of the murders. Observers, including representatives from the UK government and international human rights organizations, attended the trial, noting translation issues and rushed proceedings that placed the Burmese defendants at a disadvantage. Despite these concerns, on December 24, 2015, Zaw Lin and Wai Phyo were found guilty and sentenced to death. The court ruled that the DNA evidence was sufficient to confirm their involvement, rejecting claims of torture and procedural errors. The verdict sparked outrage in Myanmar, Burma, where many saw the two young men as scapegoats, victims of a flawed justice system prioritizing a quick resolution to protect Thailand's tourism reputation over truth. Protests erupted outside the Thai embassy in Yangon, and activists in Thailand and abroad began organizing campaigns demanding justice and transparency. International organizations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, raised concerns about the fairness of the trial, alleged torture, and lack of due process. The use of the death penalty, especially under questionable evidence. The families of the victims, while seeking justice, also called for transparency and fairness, emphasizing that a flawed investigation would not bring true accountability for Hannah's and David's deaths. Commutation to life imprisonment. After years of legal appeals, diplomatic discussions, and global clemency campaigns, the case took a significant turn in August 2020. King Maha Vajiralongkorn of Thailand issued a royal decree commuting the death sentences of Zaw Lin and Wai Phyo to life imprisonment as part of a broader prisoner amnesty. While the men remained in prison, the commutation was seen as a partial victory for human rights activists and supporters who had tirelessly campaigned for clemency. For many, however, the case remains a symbol of deep flaws within Thailand's legal system, particularly regarding the treatment of migrant workers, the use of forced confessions, and the reliance on questionable forensic procedures. Legacy of scrutiny. The Koh Tao murders trial and sentencing continue to attract international scrutiny, often cited in discussions about white heavy checkmark the treatment of migrants in Southeast Asia. White heavy checkmark the use of the death penalty under questionable circumstances. White heavy checkmark the challenges faced by families seeking justice in foreign jurisdictions. White heavy checkmark how tourism interests can sometimes overshadow transparent justice. For your documentary, emphasizing the combination of legal, ethical, and human dimensions of this trial will resonate deeply with your viewers, underscoring how a single tragic event on a paradise island revealed systemic failures with global consequences. Impact on Koh Tao's reputation and tourism, detailed. The brutal murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller in 2014 shattered the idyllic image of Koh Tao, an island previously marketed as a backpacker paradise with crystal-clear waters, vibrant nightlife, and world-class diving. Before the murders, Koh Tao was one of Thailand's rising tourism stars, attracting thousands of young travelers each year. However, the violent nature of the crime, allegations of sexual assault, and the chaos of the investigation made international headlines, prompting travelers and families worldwide to question the island's safety. Death Island reputation. In the years following the murders, media outlets began linking Koh Tao to other suspicious deaths involving foreign tourists, some under unclear or contested circumstances. In 2015, Christina Annesley, 23, a British backpacker, died in her bungalow, with the cause cited as a mix of antibiotics and alcohol. Later that year, Dimitri Povs, 29, a French tourist, was found hanged in what was ruled a suicide, though his family disputed the findings. In 2017, Elise Dalemain, 30, a Belgian backpacker, was found dead in the jungle under suspicious circumstances, again ruled a suicide, but her family suspected foul play. These and other cases led UK and European tabloids to label Koh Tao as Death Island, fueling fear among potential travelers and tarnishing the island's once attractive image. Issues of safety and corruption. The high-profile murders and subsequent suspicious deaths exposed systemic issues beneath the surface of Koh Tao's tourism boom. Small Blue Diamond allegations of local corruption and mafia influence on the island's businesses and law enforcement, with claims that some deaths were covered up to protect Koh Tao's reputation and economic interests. Small Blue Diamond concerns over tourist safety as travelers reported harassment, theft, and a lack of proper investigation when foreign visitors were harmed or went missing. Small Blue Diamond mistreatment of migrant workers like Zha Lin and Wai Fio, raising issues about exploitation, lack of legal protections, and scapegoating under pressure. Families of victims, along with international human rights organizations, pressed Thai authorities to improve transparency in investigations and ensure justice for foreigners who die or are harmed on Thai soil. Impact on tourism and local policies. The murders and Koh Tao's negative publicity led to fluctuations in tourist arrivals on the island, as safety concerns caused some travelers to alter their plans or avoid the island altogether. In response, Thai authorities and local businesses took measures to reassure tourists, including White Heavy Checkmark increased police presence on beaches and nightlife areas. White Heavy Checkmark campaigns promoting Koh Tao's safety to the international market. White Heavy Checkmark emphasizing strict laws and surveillance to protect visitors. However, skepticism remained among many potential travelers, with online forums and travel advisories often warning visitors to exercise caution, particularly regarding personal safety during nightlife activities and travel between islands. Lasting legacy. The Koh Tao murders not only changed how the world viewed a popular Thai island, but also ignited global conversations about White Heavy Checkmark, the darker side of tourism in Southeast Asia. White Heavy Checkmark, the vulnerabilities of travelers abroad, particularly young backpackers. White Heavy Checkmark, systemic issues within local justice systems and corruption in tourist hotspots. For your viewers, this section underlines how a paradise can quickly reveal hidden dangers when local interests, corruption, and systemic failures intersect, showing that justice and safety in tourist destinations are often far more complex than they appear in brochures.